Hi, welcome to Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. I'm David Rhodes, and I'm at the Guardian Center's training facility here in my home state of Georgia. Today we're looking at the collapse scenario. We have a vehicle hanging off a parking deck with victims inside. We're going to talk a little bit about what to do as a first arriving company to stabilize that vehicle and get those victims out. As you can see, we have a panicky mother up top that has kids in the vehicle. We're going to get the fire department resources on the scene, and we have several things to consider. Obviously, we've had a major collapse here on this prop, but this could be any situation where a car has gone through the railing of a parking deck. It doesn't necessarily have to be an earthquake or a collapse. As the fire company gets here, one of the first things they want to do is make sure the scene is secure and safe. As you can see on the building, there's a slab that's hanging off. We need to make sure to rope off the area to make sure that everyone stays out from underneath that slab. Then we need to look and see what other safety considerations there are on the ground. Access to the patient quickly is going to be critical. One person needs to offer some psychological aid to the individual up and get them to step back away from the edge and reassure them that we will be up there as soon as we can possibly get up there. The fire crews will be assembling their equipment, and today what we're going to do is just some simple back tying. There are victims in the car, so they're going to take up some chains, some ropes, and go up and get a good assessment. We can use a lot of things as a makeshift barrier. Most fire companies carry the yellow fire line caution tape. This will help keep other bystanders out of the area, and it's also good for the other responders to realize that there's some type of hazard in that area. You can use the yellow. Some departments' SOPs call for them to actually use a different color if there's an immediate hazard, so sometimes you see the red danger tape. One of the quickest ways to stabilize the vehicle is to get a couple chock blocks under the front tires. You may even consider deflating the front tires to remove that pendulum effect. Remember, when a vehicle has made a motion through a railing or something and is stopped, more than likely it's stopped for a reason. There's something already holding it. It's not going any further. The only thing you would have to worry about would be an aftershock for some reason if you were in an earthquake situation, or other structural damage that could have occurred due to the vehicle breaking through the rail. Be sure to look for those things as part of your situational awareness, but do remember that if that vehicle has stopped for a reason, the more surface area at the bottom of that vehicle that's touching, the better. All right, we've moved the victim, the mother, away from the edge. You know the mother is not going to want to leave the children there in the car, but we've backed her up to a safe location. And we want to look out for ourselves too. So we want to put one person up there just as a lookout to make sure they're watching for our safety. As we get busy tying up our system and back tying the vehicle, we want to make sure that someone's watching, that we don't back off the edge also. All right, so we've got our equipment, our personnel up on the roof. We've got the mother over to a safe location where she's good. I'm joined on the roof by Scott Brantley, an instructor here at the Guardian Centers, and he's going to talk us through what the fire crew is doing to stabilize this vehicle. Scott?
Thank you, David. So like you said, they've got the mother over here in a safe location. What they're going to try to do now is stabilize the vehicle so they can get access to the children in the back seat. So we want equipment that you would find on a typical engine or truck company. So what they're using is 5/8" rope, and it has a strength of 13,900 pounds. David, the weight of this car, roughly 6,300 pounds?
That's right, 6,300, 6,500, somewhere in that range. Most vehicles run somewhere between 6,000, 10,000 pounds, somewhere in there. If you don't know, you're going to use the equipment that you have, but a quick Google search will give you the weight of anything. And we have to remember, we're not capturing the entire weight of this vehicle, we're just stabilizing it to keep it from moving any further.
Exactly, and you can see they've chalked the wheels also as an attempt to stabilize it in place. So they're going to tie it to a support pillar here. And when they get through with this, we'll show a couple of other options based on the equipment that you would carry on your unit. So you can see they've just tied a bowline around the pillar. They've got it tied into the front axle or the A-arm.
And this is just your absolute bare bones minimal equipment system to make a quick rescue of these kids that are in the vehicle.
Quick modified trucker's hitch there. Like you said, this won't support the entire weight of the vehicle. The idea is to keep it stabilized where they can make entry and get the kids out for the mom, make sure they're safe. They've done a primary assessment with the kids. They're alert and oriented. You know, the only danger here is the vehicle movement.
All right, Scott, so they've built a pretty simple system here. Let's take a look at the components. What are some of the things that we need to look at when we're finding an anchor point underneath the vehicle?
So the main focus here is to tie it to a structural member, nothing plastic, of course, right? So the frame, looks like they probably got it up under the A-arm here, something to do with the frame or the structural member of the vehicle.
Most of these new vehicles, of course, without an axle like the old ones where we used to wrap around. We do have some tow hook options and stuff under there, but the key is something substantial. Even the wheel, the A-arms, the tow hooks, anything like that will work. So we got that component done and we moved back to our anchor point on the structure. And what do we have there?
Right, so obviously they found an upright pillar that has not been damaged. So it's still holding up this building, so it should be bomb-proof. So what they've done is they've tied just a simple bowline around it to anchor to this pillar. They tied a modified trucker's hitch here. They pulled the slack out of the line and then they've tied it off. So this vehicle should be stabilized now.
All right, so between the chalk blocks and the rope, we're ready to make our entry. All right, Scott, so we're ready to get the kids out. What did we need to do for our rescuers to make sure we were good?
So obviously our first priority is to keep our firefighters safe. So what they've done is they put him in a hasty harness and they have him connected to a line here where the other firefighter is belaying on a Munter hitch. That way he's safe and he's actually making access to the vehicle now to get the victims out.
And again, we've just got very minimal equipment. So we just used a piece of webbing for a hasty harness. We've got a couple carabiners in the system, which most people have. You could use your ladder belt if you needed to.
Yep.
And in some cases, maybe even your survival belt if that was all you had, just for something to give you a little bit of safety margin there, because you are working close to that edge and you're behind the door of the vehicle. All right, it looks like we've got them both out. We want to get both of those uninjured children down to mom as quick as we can to get her relaxed. And then we're good to go. All right, now that we've finished with the rescue, we're going to take a look at a couple of other options. One would be to use a come-along and some chain. Usually those are typical items that are found on the truck. So Scott, what do we got set up here?
So what they've done is they've taken Schedule 8 chain, they've wrapped this same pillar. What we're going to do is we're going to take a come-along lead cable here, and we're going to hook it to the tow hook on the vehicle and use the come-along to stabilize the vehicle.
All right, let's see what we got. All right, so what are we hooked into there under the car this time?
We're hooked into the tow hook, which is connected to the frame. And you know, David, not everybody has this equipment, but a lot of truck companies and rescue companies would have this. It's a little more expedient than the rope if you have this equipment available to you.
So we've got a 4-ton come along. We've got it in just a single mode here. We're able to tension it up. The come along's got a wire rope.
If we needed a greater holding capacity, we could put it in 2-to-1 mode.
All right, so in just a few seconds, we've accomplished the same thing we did with the rope. A little faster operation. It's just all in a matter of what equipment you're carrying and knowing the capabilities of your equipment. All right, let's review what we went over today. A car off a parking deck with the rear tires hanging off the back. We needed to stabilize that vehicle. We had to make sure to make contact with the patients and make sure they were calm and get them to a safe location. We used some simple truck equipment, a rope for one system. We also used a chain and a come along. We're going to make sure that we hook to a stable structural member of the vehicle to make that tight and remove the victims. A successful operation. Scott, I appreciate your help being here with us today. Thank you for joining us with Fire Engineering Training Minutes, and special thanks to our sponsor, TechGen.